Welcome to Encounter Wargaming. I'm Jay, and today we're going to be building some quick and easy Rock Spires. So, as we've been doing on the channel lately, I've been trying to do a lot of quick and easy tutorials, trying to show you guys how easy it is to actually make your own terrain and make it look awesome in a very short time span with very cheap materials. So it's kind of an ongoing theme on this channel, and of course I had this idea for these rock spires. I've seen other people do them. I kind of did my own thing on these. I didn't do it quite like others do it, but I had the idea and I decided to just go with it, you know what I mean? So the great thing about these is that they are incredibly generic. They can be used for 40k, we can use them for our Malifaux. In fact, in this case, I actually did them the same as our Malifaux terrain so that we can use them for Malifaux. But I guess the cat's out of the bag, or let the cat out of the bag, by saying that we are also getting into the other side, which is the same scale and quote-unquote universe as Malifaux. As well, we'll be getting into games like Gaslands, which is also very post-apocalyptic, desert sort of oriented. So the great news about these is that you can add these to your gaming table and they can be used for pretty much any scale, pretty much any game, whether it be fantasy or sci-fi, like I say, post-apocalyptic or otherwise. So these are just some real quick, easy, generic terrain pieces that can pretty much be used on any table, any gaming system, and they're just a great thing to add to your collection. So I guess without further ado, let's get into building these damn things.
So we're going to start with our cork tiles. Now, like I say, I just grabbed these at the dollar store. They were $3 for 2 tiles, so I just grabbed a couple of bundles of them. And I'm just going to rip them open, and this is what we're going to use as our base for our pieces. So I've just got this little cardboard cylinder here that I've decided is the perfect dimensions for our spires. And I'm just going to go around these pieces and trace out this cylinder. So this is going to be the rough size that I want my my spires to be. And so I'm trying to maximize space. As you can see here, I'm kind of overlapping them so that I can maximize how much of this sheet I actually get the large pieces out of. And yeah, just keep drawing circles until you've completely covered all of the tiles. And as you can see here, all of the tiles are complete. All of my circles are drawn. I've got all 4 of them drawn out, and now we just get to have fun by ripping them to pieces. So I'm just kind of loosely ripping around where the lines are. Don't get them too perfect. Like I say, you're going to want these to look like rough shapes. It's going to end up looking like sedimentary rock, right? That's been settled over time. It's been worn away by erosion and wind and what have you. So they don't have to be perfect. They just have to be that rough sort of standard dimension so that they all sort of match each other, but at the same time still look rough and natural. So I'm now left with all of these little tiny scraps of cork, which are the spaces between the circles. And as you can see here, my stacks of circles really just kind of add up to only 2 spires. So out of 4 tiles, I now only have enough to make 2 spires, and I want to stretch it a little further than that. Like I say, the stuff was only a couple of bucks for a sheet, but you know, why waste it, right? So I'm just going to take my hot glue gun and take all of the little tiny pieces that I have and just kind of build rims around the larger pieces. Go up 2-3 layers of the little pieces around the outside and then throw on a big one. And basically, you know, if you put 2 layers of the little bits between each layer of the big piece, you're basically like tripling the amount of, like, the height of the spires. Does that make sense? Tripling the use of the material. Plus, if there's some empty gaps inside, it's okay, because it really doesn't matter. And why waste all that cork, right? So just keep going until you feel that it's as high as you want it to be. I just kind of arbitrarily made them random heights, and I wanted them each to be a different height, so I've just got them gradually going from tallest to smallest there. Now, you're going to find that this material is extremely absorbent. So here I've just got some black craft paint, really cheap stuff. Now, this is not actually the color we're going to be basing these. I just wanted to sort of cover this cork in this paint. Just get a nice rough coat on there. Don't be too perfect with it. It's okay if you don't get it into all the crevices and cracks. It's just, I find once you put the PVA onto the cork, it'll soak in a lot, and then our sand won't stick to it. So basically, this layer of paint, you can use any color you want. I just have an overabundance of black right now, and it's just to sort of seal in all those pores so that when I put my PVA and sand on, the sand won't just fall back off. So here, I've just got some PVA and some playground sand, and I'm just going to completely cover these guys in PVA glue so that I can throw my sand on and give it that nice sandy rock texture, like a sedimentary rock that these spires would consist of. And just get it on there thick, guys. Don't be afraid to glob on the glue. Like I say, this stuff is super absorbent, so you won't really have instances where you have too many runs or anything like that. And just completely cover them. We want every inch of these things covered in glue and sand, with the exception of maybe the bottoms, of course. So now I've just got my standard Rust-Oleum satin rust paint, which I like to use as the base for all my terrain pieces, because not only is it extremely durable, but it's a great color to base pretty much any natural colors on, especially in this case since they're rock, sort of desert sand looking. It's a nice base. And again, don't be afraid to glob it on, because what little cork is exposed will absorb the paint as well. The sand also soaks in the paint really well, so you probably won't get runs or anything like that. I find I just put it on straight out of the can, nice and thick, and it actually turns out great and provides a nice protective layer for our terrain pieces so that they don't chip away and stuff in the future. So now I've just got some cinnamon brown craft paint, again, the cheap stuff. And now that my espresso's dry, I'm going to give it a nice overbrush of the cinnamon. And this will basically just allow, we want to put a nice thick overbrush because we want it to be able to translate through the next layer of dry brushing we're going to do. So don't be afraid to get it on there really heavy. Do a really heavy overbrush of this stuff, because again, we want it to show up over the espresso, and then we want it to translate through the next final layer of dry brushing we're going to do. And there they are, all cinnamon brown. And our final dry brush layer, we're going to use this unbleached titanium. It's basically a bleached bone color, guys, so like you shop debone or whatever. And we're going to do a nice light dry brush of this. And make sure not to go too heavy at first. You can always make the dry brush thicker, but if you put it on too thick at the start, you can't take it off. And this is our last layer, so we want to make sure we do this proper so we don't have to completely repaint these things. So be careful, go nice and light. If you have to go heavier in the future, you can do that. And make sure to just kind of do an up and down motion more than a side to side, so that you could basically hit all of the edges and the top areas and make it look nice and highlighted. So now I've just got some little pink flowers that I got at the dollar store again. And as you can see, they're just kind of like little styrofoam balls. They're not really even flowers. And this stuff was super cheap. I think for $1.25, I got like a massive twig of it, and it had a bunch of these strands on it. So I've got tons of this stuff, and it cost me next to nothing. So I'm just going to take my clippers and snip it just kind of where the styrofoam balls meet that green stem, so that I have very little of the green stem actually showing, as you can see there. And then, yeah, just go crazy, snipping them all off. And now that I've done that, I'm just going to take some crazy glue and kind of put it in areas where my dry brush didn't really get. Maybe where my paint job's a little inconsistent, or I have divots or cracks from where the paint and glue dried and cracked. And this can be used to just cover a few of your crimes, you know what I mean? Cover some of your inconsistencies. Just go around, put them wherever you'd like. Make sure that when you look at it from every side, you have at least 2 or 3 different bunches of flowers visible, regardless of what side you're looking at, and they'll look great. So now I'm going to finish it off with some static grass. I've got here some yellow static grass, which has kind of like little clump foliage pieces in it, which is a really cool find. I think Gale Force 9 makes it. And basically, I'm just going to put a little bit of PVA glue on either side of the pink flowers, again, to sort of cover my crimes and any of that little green stem that's still kind of showing from the original twig of flowers. I don't want that still showing, so I'm just going to take a little bit of grass, cover it up, and just tap it off. And as you can see, got a nice little bush with some pink flowers in the center. And now just go around, again, cover all of your crimes, guys. This is the great thing about static grass. You can cover all of the inconsistencies in your paint job. Like I say, where the paint might have cracked or whatever as it dried. You can just cover all that up with this PVA glue and just sprinkle on your static grass, and it'll look mint when you're done. Adds another color to it, makes it look very realistic and alive, even though it is dead grass. And we're just going to keep doing that on all of the spires until they're completely done. And then the final touch, I've just decided on the tops of them, I want to make kind of patches of dead grass. So I've got actually two different kinds of static grass here. I've got the original yellow that I used on the sides, and then I've got just kind of like a beige dead grass. And I'm just going to go around the top and, again, cover any of your crimes, guys. Cover any of the areas where your paint job is inconsistent or where you think you just really think there would be grass. And then take the lighter beige color and just sprinkle it into the centers of each of the globs. Don't cover them completely, just get some nice patches on there on the white glue. And then we're going to finish it off with the yellow. Just cover all the rest of the PVA so that when you tap it off afterwards, you have actually two different shades of grass. It just adds another level of realism. It's very subtle, but it's noticeable when you know it's there. And it just makes things look a little more realistic, as you can see. And that's basically it, guys. That is the last step, and those are our completed rock spires.
There's our sweet rock spires, fully complete. I think they turned out pretty damn good. And like I say, these are generic enough that you can pretty much use them at any scale, in any game. These are you're gonna be able to see these in our Malifaux battle reports coming up, as well as our other side battle reports. And like I say, they may even make it into our Gaslands games and our 40k games. So just give you a nice look at these. Simple dry brushing actually does quite a bit, right? And the pink flowers, I think, add a nice little touch to the pieces. Just give it a little pop of color, so it's not all just bland browns and yellows. And yeah, that's them. So I hope you guys really enjoyed that tutorial. I had a lot of fun making those. Like I say, they were quick, easy, inexpensive. I mean, just a couple bucks worth of cork and a little bit of hot glue, and the rest of the stuff we just kind of have in our collection, right? Paints, grass, those kinds of things. The kind of things that us terrain makers and hobbyists sort of just keep around. So it was, you know, cost me a couple bucks to buy the materials for this, and I think they turned out pretty damn well, if I do say so myself. So if you guys like this tutorial, please hit the like button. Also hit that subscribe button so that, if you haven't already, so that you know when all of our tutorials come out. I will be doing a lot more terrain on this channel. I absolutely love doing terrain. It's probably my favorite part of the hobby, and so look forward to a lot more terrain tutorials in the future. Also, like I say, we are getting into a few other gaming systems, so you'll see a little bit of a variety of terrain coming up on the channel. We'll be doing a little more Gaslands. Like I say, we're getting into the other side, and then of course 40k is always an ongoing thing. So that being said, if you like this video, please hit like. Like I say, hit subscribe. Also, guys, we do have a Spreadshirt page, so if you want to head down there, spend a couple bucks and get yourself a t-shirt with our logo on them, and it gives us a couple bucks to help keep the lights on and keep things running. But more importantly than that, I would like to say a big thank you to all of our patrons on our Patreon campaign who have helped us out over the years. It means a lot that you guys are constantly giving back, and it helps us keep things going. So if you want to help us out, please check out our Patreon campaign. It's in the description below, and just something as simple as $1 a video gets you our content early. It gets you a whole bunch of bonus content, plus there's a whole bunch of other perks that are all listed there on the Patreon page, so make sure to check that out, and we'll see you at our next encounter.
Like a monkey in a rocket on his way back home. Okay.